Good afternoon, everyone. Those are hard acts to follow, but I'll try. White, part of speech, adjective. Etymology, Old English of Germanic origin, related to the Dutch word wit and the German word weiss, related to wheat. There are 24 synonyms that relate to the absence of color definition of white. So, colorless, unpigmented, undyed, chalky, bleached. The antonym, black. Then you have about 29 synonyms that supposedly describe people. Well, they do describe, but certain people. You have pale, I can't be pale, ashen, wan, sickly, deathly, washed out. The antonym, tanned. Well, I have a permanent tan. I guess I'm always healthy. Of course, those definitions have to do with a particular person of lighter skin. Then you have about 5 definitions that relate to the hair, 3 definitions that relate to people of European extract, Caucasian, non-black. And then, get this, you have 41 definitions that have moral connotations. So, righteous, virtuous, exemplary, beyond reproach, above reproach, unsullied, unblemished, unaffected, uncorrupted, honest, innocent, sinless, and it goes on and on. Now, we know from a scientific standpoint that actually color is a human construct, right? We know that. The students know that. White is simply the wavelengths of all of the colors on the electromagnetic spectrum that the human eye can detect. When all of those colors, Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet, when all of those wavelengths come in and they're scattered, we see white. Now then you have the definition that has to do with people. So Caucasian, of European extract, non-black. And then there's this historical definition where during the Cold War, white was opposed to red, where red was seen as derogatory and red represented communists. So you have this scientific definition, the socio-cultural definition, and historical definition. While I was doing the research on this, I listened to some wonderful lectures by a woman named Dr. Nell Irvin Painter, and one of her lectures is called Why White People Are Called Caucasian, and another one was The History of White People. Because there are a number of identities that I ascribe to, I see white, and the thoughts that I want to share have to do with a particular topic. First, let me tell you what those identities are. First, I'm a Black American woman. I'm an African American woman. I'm a woman who is a person of color of the United States. Well, because I'm all of those things, and because race has had such a big role in the United States, when I hear white, I inevitably think about the white race. But here's the thing. Race is also a social construct. No such thing. You all know that, right? There's no biological or scientific basis for race. Yet we know how powerful ideas can be, and this notion that white race has led to white supremacy is something that unfortunately has led to much of the problems in our world. Now, the idea of white supremacy is also a lie, of course, But you know the saying, a lie is hard to beat. In fact, there's this one proverb that says, one lie can ruin 1,000 truths. And then Mark Twain, the wonderful humorist, said, a lie can go around the world and back again while truth is still tying its shoes. So the lie of white supremacy is very powerful. And that's one of the things I think about when I hear that word. And because of that word, because of that idea that whites are inherently superior, I'm considered a minority, for example, when I'm not, because empirically in the world, there are many more people of color than people that are of European extraction. As well, because of that idea, what do we call Southwest Asia today? We call it the Middle East, but middle compared to whom? Europe, of course, it's Southwest Asia. But this is just a tendency that we human beings have, right? Because in Chinese, isn't Zhong center, like center of the world? We have a tendency to see ourselves as the most important. Now, those are some musings about it on, let's say, a societal level. But to get more personal, when I think of white, I think about when I was 7, 8 years old, and my friend thought I wanted to be white simply because I was using chalk, white chalk, and putting it on my arm. She had already learned that white is right, and if I was doing that, clearly I must want to be white. I also think of the fact that I was called Nigger, which has to do with negro, which is black. I also think about my grandfather, my paternal grandfather, who would refer to himself as colored because he had lived during a time when Black Americans were called colored. In fact, in my lifetime, I've heard colored, Afro-American, African-American, Black, people of color. It's kind of confusing. Now, I also think about the fact that so often I was the only Black person in my school or at the law firm when I practiced law, one of the law firms. And so that's what I think about, standing out. But let me tell you, what I really come back around to is the notion that no matter who we are, we human beings are capable of tremendous stupidity, evil, and ignorance. And it just so happens that this idea of white supremacy is one of the ways that we human beings have done that. So, how do I come out on this issue? I'd like to think about the fact that we will be victorious. I know that in the end, and I believe that light will shine. And as one famous person said, the arc of the moral universe may be long, but it bends towards justice. And so for me, I think of the resilience, the beauty, the justice, the creativity, the soul, the swag that Black Americans have and people of color. And I think that we can, through our intellect, through learning to be with other people, we can say no to this idea that white is right or white is better, because that's just doesn't make any sense. So yes, white is a color, a human construct. We just perceive the color. White is a color among many. It's a word, but it's not the end all and be all. We shall be victorious. I shall be victorious and not believe in the lie of white supremacy. Thank you.